just like 99% of the people in the world, we are brainwashed that sugar is okay. Sugar can be eaten as part of the dietary guidelines. However, we should think twice. Hi, my name is Dr. Josephine Grace Rojo, also known as your Diet Doctora. I have written books mainly focusing on health and wellness. So this coming June, we are going to conduct an LCF masterclass, a low carb and fasting masterclass. But this time, it will be different because we will tackle 12 kinds of the most common lifestyle diseases na pwede po nating mai-improve using only natural remedies and of course, the knowledge on nutrition and incorporation of fasting. So ano po ang i-expect natin sa 21 days LCF Masterclass? So each disease ay magkakaroon po ng kanyang sariling private group sa Facebook. At kapag naka-enroll na at natapos ang registration process ng isang participant, siya po ay magiging member ng isang exclusive group and at the same time, exclusive community na ito. For the next 21 days, magkakaroon ng available na 20 to 25 minutes of video na merong learning at meron din itong kasabay na habit-forming activities and exercises so that pagkatapos po sa 21 days ng bawat sakit ay hindi lang po magiging equipped sa knowledge yung participant when it comes to disease prevention, kung paano posibleng pigilan, kung paano ito pwedeng maiwasan, and lastly, kung paano ito pwedeng mai-avoid. So, our first disease is actually on diabetes. So, yung diabetes po ay yung pagtaas ng blood sugar ng abnormal na level sa tao at ito po ay nagkakaroon ng maraming komplikasyon tulad ng sakit sa kidneys, sakit sa puso, pagtaas ng cholesterol. Diabetes is basically destroying all organs of the human body. And with this 21-day masterclass, we aim to provide you with the knowledge, yung kaalaman, at of course, the practice and also the confidence na pwede pong simulan ang ating lifestyle change ng safe and natural for us to attain good health. And remember, our ultimate goal ay hindi lang po basta optimum health, but also longevity. Ang longevity po ay maa-attain na kahit sa katandaan o advanced age, we still have the energy. Meron pa rin tayong stamina at lakas tulad ng kabataan. So I hope to see you in our upcoming masterclass, and if you wish to know more, meron na pong details sa video na ito, and I hope that you will be a part of this community na hindi lang po matatapos in the coming 21 days, but it is going to be a long-term support group para po sa mga sakit na ito. See you! Hello everybody! Happy Monday! I hope everybody is having a productive weekend, a productive start of the week rather. So thank you so much for always watching. Nauna talaga si Roxy, si Coach Jean, Army, Hi Park Shen, Doc Brian, hello po, good afternoon, Juliet, Rosemary, CJ, and of course Mary Chris. So our topic for today is about fortifying foods in low carb diet. If you've been following our page, no, I'm sure you've already found one of my posts before na most products right now in the market saying fortified are actually, to start with, hindi talaga nutritious. So yung pinaka-example dyan would be the breakfast cereals, meron yung iba yung mga instant noodles, lahat ng yon nilalagay ng fortified. Nilalagyan ng konting vitamin A, nilalagyan ng konting vitamin B, tapos minamarket na ito as nutritious. Okay? So as a disclaimer, we want to clarify na yung kinakain po natin in low-carb lifestyle is actually nutritious to start with. Pero, we will talk about the emphasis on foods na parang kinukulang for those who are doing their low-carb diet, no? So, especially yung hindi pa masyadong matagal sa way of life na to. For those who are still starting na hindi pa sure if they can commit to low-carb, know that mas marami na po ngayon ang nagko-commit sa low-carb as a lifestyle talaga. So, as this is a supplement, no, sa episode natin from last week, which includes the must-have supplements when it comes to low-carb. Bakit nangangailangan tayo ng parang conscious effort to make those certain foods na i-increase sa ating intake? It is because mas marami po kasi, because of idea na diet ito, sometimes they tend to eat very little of this, no? So, parang na-misinterpret nila na low carb is just low in carbohydrates, but actually, it is not low in nutrient density. In fact, mataas po yung nutritious content, no? Yung nutrient density ng pagkain na pina-prioritize natin. But we understand that it is quite hard and challenging para sa iba na baguhin yung mindset. They have accepted low carb, but sometimes people are having a hard time accepting higher fat intake and higher protein intake, especially coming from red meat, okay? But that ideology, that wrong notion is actually the cause kung bakit nagkakaroon ng maraming side effect. If you will notice, no, sa mga taong hindi takot kumain ng taba, sa mga taong hindi takot kumain ng asin, hindi takot kumain ng red meat, and nag-low carb sila, actually mas less yung kanilang mga reklamo or side effects. But those who are healthy or somewhat health conscious to start with, bago pa sila mag-low carb and then they incorporated low carb, sila actually yung mas maraming side effect. Sila yung mayroong mga hair loss, meron ding yung iba nanghihina, may mga fluctuations sa blood pressure nila, meron ding iba na nagkakaroon ng maraming electrolyte imbalance because they have just made their food low carb, but to start with, hindi yung food nila nutrient dense. So, mas pinababa nila actually yung kanilang intake. So, what we want to emphasize when it comes to low carb nutrition is actually pinapababa natin yung insulin impact and especially the blood sugar spike sa ating pagkain, but without compromising the nutrients, specifically the vitamins and minerals na nasa pagkain, so that we won't need much of the vitamins and minerals na in tablet form. It is best to get them from natural food sources. Kapag hindi na talaga makaya, then that's the time that you can incorporate some help from tablet form na supplements. Pero generally, if you will just plan your meal ahead at kapag hindi tayo masyadong choosy sa mga pagkain natin, we can actually get a lot of these needed vitamins and minerals in variety of foods na hindi kailangan maging magastos at hindi rin kailangan na mas mag-spend pa ng extra money. Okay? And we can do this by tackling the most common na parang nade-deficient when it comes to low carb nutrition. So ito ay importante for those who are still starting and for those naman na matagal na into low carb and still having some side effects. But for those of you who are already in perfectly good shape na sa low carb, you can maybe try to see kung bakit na tama pala yung ginagawa ko. So it's good that I add this and I add that, and it's actually gonna serve as affirmation na all the while kung bakit tama lang na hindi talaga kayo matakot sa certain foods that was actually labeled as bad food sa ibang diet that are actually being promoted in certain food guidelines, dietary guidelines, that what we have seen doesn't really work. Okay, the low salt, low fat diet is actually not gonna make you healthy, especially kung ang katumbas nito ay ang pagpapataas ng carbohydrate intake, especially fructose intake. So marami na tayong testimonials niyan. Nag-follow sila ng low fat, low salt diet for so long. Ano yung ni-replace nila? 5 servings of fruits every day. At ano nangyari? It's only after a matter of time they were diagnosed with pre-diabetes and also fatty liver. So hindi po yan nakakashock, no? It might sound surprising for others, but for us who knows the biochemistry behind that, with too much fructose intake, kahit pa galing pa sa natural fruits, especially when it is taken together with other foods, may rice, may kanin, may karne, may itlog, may dessert, may soft drinks pa, of course, that is just too much. So, importante that we have the right mindset. So, thank you so much, guys, for everybody who are doing here. And yes, yung mga si Jacob nagtatanong, why do vegan fans say that keto is bad? So, meron namang mga vegetarian or vegan actually na nagki-keto din. So, hindi lahat. But it's just that with keto or low carb, we really see, no, that we are seeing on the scientific side and unbiased side na food talaga coming from animal sources is more bioavailable. Okay? So for example, titingnan natin yung red beans at saka compared sa red meat, no? Actually, kung titingnan mo, per gram of value, mas mataas yung kaniyang content sa iron, sa calcium, sa certain vitamins, sa content. But when you consider the bioavailability, how much of these nutrients are actually being absorbed by the human body and being utilized, kung paano ito nagagamit, the bioavailability of these vitamins and minerals coming from meat, from red meat, from real meat, kasi meron na mga veggie meat ngayon, is actually much, much better. The absorption rate and the utilization rate, yung nagagamit talaga ng ating katawan, is actually so much better profile. So we are not talking about animal cruelty here and all that, the ethical side. We are just plainly focusing on the nutritional side. So it will be up to you as a person kung saan yung gugustuhin mo. But of course, no, we promote that if should we take it from animal sources, hopefully it is coming from a humanely raised animals, no? So animals are there, especially they can be good as part of our food sources. Pero hindi natin gusto yung mga very cruel naman, no? So yung mga foie de gras o yung mga pinapataba talaga na mga certain food just so we can get a fatty liver, a fatty or whatever food, no? Very cruelly raised animals para lang for certain delicacies. So we don't promote that. So just a good farming, good raised, no? Kung pwede nga, meron tayong mga organic, yung sa US and other countries, it is labeled as grass-fed beef, grass-fed pork, or kung ano man. But in our locality, actually, marami pa rin naman, especially in the provinces, na nagpapakain talaga ng kanilang pork and ng kanilang mga piggeries using organic, like mga kangkong o gabi o yung mga ganong mga pagkain. So, but with beef, I think yung beef naman talaga, especially here in the Philippines, mostly grass-fed na naman. Wala akong nakitang masyadong beef dito na raised talaga in farms, eating grains, no? Most of our beef here, we are still lucky na nakikita natin nasa bukid lang. They're all roaming around freely eating grass. So they are somewhat one of the safest. Okay? So low salt, sabi nga ni Sir Glenn, low salt, low fat, high carb, dangerous mix. That is very, very true. Problema talaga yan. So we will talk about now one by one, no, how to fortify foods in low carb diet. So we will break this down into proteins, fats, fiber, vitamins, and then minerals. Okay, 5 po tayo dito. Of course, this is not everything, but somewhat we will make it as practical as possible para mas madaling ma-apply ng ating mga fellow Filipinos, and of course, all of those who are watching us all over the world. Hello to Ryan. Si Ryan, isang bodybuilder yan noon, but ngayon naka-low carb na. And how are you, Ryan? I hope you are well and energetic as always, okay? Hindi naman bodybuilder, pero parang bodybuilder yung kanyang build ng kanyang pangangatawan. So, hello everybody, especially to my patients who are watching here. Thank you so much. So, to start with, proteins, okay? So, yung proteins po, we always emphasize in low carb, no? Na low carb, so that's carbohydrate, pinapababa natin, especially the net carbohydrates. So, yung net carbohydrates po, ito po yung amount of carbohydrates that is translatable into energy sa ating katawan. So, they can be used as glucose mostly or as fructose, okay? Glucose, primary, nakakapagpataas ng blood sugar, nakakapagpataas ng insulin. Fructose, hindi man siya ganon ka nagpapataas ng insulin. It has actually low insulin index, but the problem with fructose, it's actually quite toxic sa liver natin when taken too much. And it is very, very easy to take them too much. Madali pong sumobra ang pagkain ng fructose. Yung glucose, isa lang actually sa pathway niya. There's 5 pathway of glucose. At isa sa pathway niya doon ay maging fructose, okay? In the form of fructose 6-phosphate. But this fructose, okay, kapag nandyan na yan at meron ka pang other sources of energy, may fats ka pa, meron ka pang glucose, may ketones ka pa, this fructose actually can be easily converted into triglycerides or other fats sa ating katawan. So that is why when you take so much fructose, those people who are so fond of eating fruits, honey, kasi nga hindi na sila kumakain ng desserts, hindi na sila nagso-soft drinks, panay fruit juice na lang, nagsi-shake parate. But ano yung resulta? They actually resulted into having fatty liver and high triglycerides. So all of these are backed up by research. Meron na pong matagal ng science behind this. It's just that it is not made popular. Kasi walang masyadong business when we say you prohibit certain foods. There is business when we say to promote certain foods. Okay? So in here, we will promote certain foods, but wala po tayong brand or kung ano-ano man. The more organic, the more local that you can have it, it's much better. So fructose is actually also translatable into energy. Okay? Meron pa rin siyang tawag natin impact when it comes to overall calories, no? So that's why included siya sa ating computation ng carbohydrate. So we make our food low carb, generally as a safe lang below 50 grams per day, okay? And then, ano yung nangyayari after? So, with low carb, kapag naka-keto ka, so you even lower it to 20 grams. And with keto, your fat intake is as high as 65 to 75% of your caloric needs. Okay? Mataas yung fat intake. So, this idea is under keto talaga. So, nakakaligtaan actually yung proteins. Proteins is usually in keto around 25 grams lang. Okay? Because overly eating proteins, ang proteins kasi kahit hindi siya nagpapataas ng blood sugar, but it increases somewhat your insulin level. And when your insulin level is increased, no, kahit hindi man tumataas yung blood sugar mo, but your fat burning is somewhat stopped, no? Parang kumukonti siya ng konti. But the problem with this is you might actually lead to protein deficiency. And when you are already protein deficient, kapag sobrang pag-prioritize mo sa iyong pagkakaroon ng ketosis, when you prioritize getting into ketosis so much, you eat a lot of fats, halos zero carbs na, and you also minimize your protein intake, you might actually lead to protein wasting. Kaya merong iba, pumapayat nga, pero nangihina. Walang masyadong energy. And it's because their body is now getting the necessary glucose. Yung glucose po para ma-maintain yung blood sugar na normal will now come from their muscles if ever they are not eating enough amount of proteins, okay? So the problem here is may mga tao na naglo-low carb pero takot kumain ng proteins, especially red meat, kasi sinasabi na yung red meat is connected with cancer formation, meron pang sa mga female, especially female reproductive problems, no, like PCOS, endometriosis, and what else? They also say na red meat are also not good kasi baka kung ano, ito yung paglalagyan ng pagtaas ng uric acid, pagtaas ng creatinine, pagkasira ng kidney. So they actually tend to eat less of it, okay? And that can lead to so much problem. So importante that you understand that a low carb nutrition doesn't need to be low protein. In fact, no, yung low carb, it's just either high protein or moderate protein, but never about low protein. Okay? Kahit pa keto pa yan, with keto, it's still moderate protein. That 25 to 30% of protein is actually already moderate protein intake. And with high protein intake, we are already ranging from 40 to 50%. Okay? So, importante that we prioritize proteins. If ayaw nyong mga yayat, if gusto nyong mas madali pong mawala yung pagsag ng inyong skin, kasi when you lose weight, you tend to have loose skin as well. Autophagy will kick in. It will take care of that. But it might take some time. Okay? And collagen is actually a form of protein. Okay? For those who are supplementing with collagen, that is somewhat okay. Hindi naman natin yan pinagbabawal. You can take that during your eating window kasi para dapat kasama siya on your regular meals. Para, since it's a supplement, so it's like part of your food, okay? But high protein intake or just the moderate enough protein intake can actually take care of your collagen needs. Your body can make its own collagen. So the way our body processes it, okay? kakain tayo ng proteins, it will be broken down into amino acids, and those amino acids will be, yun po yung process of catabolism. Alam na yan ng ating mga masterclass graduates, no? So we have catabolism broken down, and after the amino acids are already available in our system, it will now go through the process of anabolism. It will build up again, and it can become proteins again, depending kung anong protein yung need nyo po. Protein para, for example, para sa skin, or protein para sa pagtubo ng nail, or protein para sa pagtubo ng hair, or protein para gawing collagen in the form of the matrix underneath your skin para mas maging tighten ito. So all of that is necessary. So kapag hindi kayo physically active, you can take as minimum to 1.2 grams per kilogram of body weight. So roughly kahit 1 na lang. So if you are 50 kilos, so that's 50 grams, okay? At remember po, hindi ibig sabihin na 50 grams of protein is equivalent to 50 grams of chicken breast. Hindi po yan ganon. Chicken breast, hindi po yan 100% protein. Kakaunti lang po, around 60 to 70% of that is protein. So maybe around 100 grams of chicken breast can give you around 30 to 40 grams of proteins, okay? So marami lang yan sa Google, but just understand na per gram of protein-rich food is not equivalent to protein content. So for example, ang isang itlog, yung egg white ay merong average egg white, no? Medium to large size, meron niyang 6 grams of protein. Okay? So for example, if you are 50 kilos at gusto mong makatarget ng 60 grams of proteins in a day, so actually you can eat 10 egg whites, okay, as protein alone. Okay? So dito pa lang, we can already see how much protein do we actually need. At kung titingnan mo, ilang itlog yung kinakain mo in a day. So one way to actually fortify our food with more proteins is to actually add more egg whites in it. Okay? So know that per egg white is already 6 grams of protein. Okay? So kahit ano yung kinakain mo, kung puro ka vegetables, for example, you can add egg white. Or kung puro ka naman halos carnivore ka na, okay? Pero minsan, mas marami yung fats, no? Especially sa mga pasyente ko dito na hindi nasa-satisfy kapag hindi kumakain ng pork belly. So yung pork belly po, it's okay, pero yung protein content niyan is konti-konti lang. If you can look at the fat and the layers of meat and fats in there, konting-konti lang yung proteins niyan. So actually, kahit pa feeling mo ang dami mo nang kinain, but if you look at it, if you really measure the protein contents of those, makikita mo, sobrang konti talaga yung kinakain mong protein. So you can actually add egg whites only, okay? Sinasabi natin, ina-emphasize natin yung egg whites because we are still in proteins. Wala pa po tayo sa fats because the yellow part or the yolk, yung pula ng itlog, yun po ay yung fat content ng, mas maraming fat content ng isang itlog. But with fortification, with proteins alone, no, the cheapest way to do it is to add proteins, okay? How about naman sa mga add proteins, especially egg whites pala. So you add egg whites to increase your protein intake. So that's 6 grams per egg white, okay? So titingnan mo kung ano yung pagkain mo. Egg white is so flexible. Pwede nga siya sa dessert if you fluff it, tapos lalagyan mo siya ng kakaunting sweetener, and then you mix it with, say for example, all-purpose cream or heavy cream, or some cream cheese or butter. Pwede na siyang maging mousse, no? Para na siyang vanilla mousse or para na siyang ice cream actually. So very flexible ang egg white. And then pwede rin po siyang gawing kanin. Okay? Yung egg white alone, either boiled or scrambled, alone, no, kakainin mo mga 3 or 4 na egg whites, parang isang 1 cup of rice na siya. At wala siyang lasa. And if you don't want to taste that eggy taste, no, kung naumay na kayo sa parang itlog na lasa niya, you can just add vinegar or citrus na juice like lemon or calamansi, anything with acetic acid, yung sour, because that will neutralize actually the eggy taste of eggs, okay? Pwede nyo gamitin yan with your
desserts, with your whatever goodies that you, or the breads that you make na merong eggs, no? Tapos parang halos puro itlog lang yung kinakain nyo at hindi naman egg tart yung gusto nyong gawin at hindi naman egg pie yung gusto nyong gawin, but parang itlog yung lasa, you can actually neutralize it by taking in some, but by taking in, putting in some acetic acid or anything na merong something na maasim, okay? So, how about naman for those who are vegan, vegetarian, natatakot or hindi kumakain ng egg white? So, actually, pwede kayong mag-add ng nuts, mushrooms, okay, and beans, okay? So, yung nuts, we have most nuts, but most nuts are actually also high in fats, okay? So, you just need to take note kung ano yung nut, yung fat allowance mo in a day. So, pecan, walnut, almonds, okay? I think yung almonds yung isa sa pinakamataas yung protein contents compared to others. So, we have macadamia. So, yung peanut po, yung peanut lang yung pangalan niya, but it's actually not classified as nuts, no? It's classified under para siyang mga beans and legumes, okay? So, peanuts, since it is inflammatory, medyo out po siya. Kung gusto niyo man, a handful lang, 2 to 3 times a week. Wag na pong lalagpas. Okay? So, those are the possible protein sources for those who are vegetarian, and also mushrooms. Okay? So, sa mushrooms naman, mushrooms are actually made of halos 100% proteins yan. So, yung mushrooms, ang DNA po actually ng mushrooms, hindi talaga siya maklasify kung tanim ba talaga siya, if it's under plants or what. Pero, alam nyo ba, nakakatakot talaga yung mushroom na yan because the mushroom actually has closer DNA to humans than plants, to animals than plants. So, buhay talaga yung mushroom. But for vegetarian, I think mushroom is considered not animal-based. So, somewhat it's okay as a means to fortify your foods with protein intake. So, paano mo ito gagawin? So, usually, kahit anong luto mo, lagyan mo lang ng mushroom. Kung magsasaute ka ng vegetables, lagyan mo ng mushroom. Okay? The fresher, the better. Kung wala talagang choice, you can use the ones in can, no? Pero choose the ones with least preservative, or yung mga in natural water or whatever is there, and drain it and clean it thoroughly. Okay? Para mawala masyado yung mga preservatives na nandun. And the other would be beans. So, alam natin yung beans, most beans are actually high in starch. Mataas yung starch content nila. So, hindi lahat ng beans are okay. Okay? So, we have here green beans. Konti lang yung per lang. So, our servings here are 1/4 cup. So, isang cup. So, 1/4 cup lang in a day. Actually, okay na yon. You can already have certain amounts of protein there. Green beans, green peas, no? To some extent, pwede rin yung mga lentils, no? And, of course, meron ding red beans and chickpeas. Pero, yung red beans and chickpeas, nasa moderate na sila. Kasi hindi na sila less than 5 grams of net carbs per 100 gram. Nasa 7 to 8 na sila. Silang dalawa ni chickpeas. So, but if you take it in portions, like 1/4 cup lang, that's already just around 8 grams for your 20 or 50 gram allowance. So, that is how you can add more proteins in your diet. So, pwede po. Fortifying it, kung ano yung usual meal mo, you say, for example, vegetables and fish. So, mag-add ka ng 2 egg whites or 3 egg whites just so you can increase your protein intake. And lastly, kung wala talagang mahanap or sometimes because of the very busy schedule, no? Pwede nyo actually maglagay. This is already a supplement considered yung whey protein isolate. So, yung whey protein isolate, whey po is the protein component of your milk. Okay? Pero, in-isolate nila para makuha nila yung proteins only. And the proteins from milk actually is also one of the best. Okay? So, maganda po yung protein sa milk kasi it's very highly bioavailable. Mas na-absorb ng katawan natin. And the thing about taking it from milk alone, no, that amount of protein, say for example, kapag kukunin mo yan sa milk, you have to also take in a lot of lactose and galactose. Lactose and galactose are the natural milk sugar. Yun yung parang sugar po na nasa milk. And when we are into low carb, we actually don't have much allowance for all those because it is still a simple sugar na pwede pa rin makapag-spike ng ating blood sugar and eventually insulin. So that's why unless kayo mismo ang nag-aalaga sa ano na yan, sa milk producing animal na yan, goat, cow, or ano ba, carabao, so better avoid na lang po yung milk that are available in the market. But if you want to maximize the protein in it, meron pong mga binibenta. Just choose the unflavored ones at yung walang added sweetener, and it's actually a very flexible product na pwede mong ilagay sa iyong drink, sa iyong pagkain, kahit sa iyong ulam na wala siyang masyadong lasa if it's just pure unflavored whey protein isolate. So per scoop of that usually nasa 17 to 20 grams of protein yan. So isang scoop lang makakakuha ka na ng around 3 to 4, equivalent to 3 to 4 egg whites when it comes to proteins. But of course, no, it is somewhat expensive. And kung hindi naman siya always available, pwede naman na egg whites lang. So, depende po yan. We are just showing you the options, but we understand that there are those people who can benefit from it. Especially yung mga always on the go, walang time mag-prepare, nakatira in a condo, walang masyadong provision in cooking, tapos very early morning, umaalis na kasi on the road na, tapos late na rin makauwi, hindi na maka-meal prep. So this is actually the time that you can benefit from that. You can do your, say for example, yung overnight oats mo, low carb overnight oats without the oats yung chia seeds lang, mga flaxseed, berries, and some cream for example. You can actually add a scoop of protein powder there or protein isolate there to increase your protein needs. And it's really good to prioritize proteins, especially in the morning, kapag breakfast, kasi naniniwala pa rin tayo that breakfast actually is the most important meal of the day. We believe that. We just don't believe that it has to be the first thing that you need to do in the morning. Hindi kailangan na pagkagising mo ay kumain ka kagad ng marami. You can actually just move your breakfast as late as possible while kaya nyo pa po. Oyster mushroom, lahat ng mushroom, as long as hindi poisonous mushroom, pwedeng-pwede po. Okay lang po yan. So, that is our proteins. Other techniques to increase your protein, pwede po kayong yung mga maliliit na seeds like sesame seeds, no? Or sometimes even yung mga pumpkin seeds. So, pwede mo lang siya parang i-garnish in your food, but that garnish can already increase your protein and actually other minerals that we will talk about later on. Okay? So, next would be our fats. So, with most low carbers, hindi ito problema. Kasi alam natin that we shouldn't be afraid of fats. Hindi tayo kailangan matakot sa taba. It's just that meron pa rin yung mga iba na brainwash na talaga for so long na natatakot na talagang kumain ng taba at kahit alam na nila ngayon that eating fats that are healthy fats is not bad, but their palate somewhat adjusted na talaga na kapag magta-try daw silang kumain ng say for example, yung taba ng baboy, lumalabas talaga, hindi talaga nila malunok. So this one is beneficial for them. How to increase their fat intake without the eerie taste, yung mga ano talaga, yung ayaw ng mga fat haters. Kasi merong mga tao na nasanay na talaga with low fat diet na kahit gusto na nilang kumain sana but hindi talaga ma-tolerate ng kanilang system. So this is how you can easily add fats in your meals without noticing it. Okay? So number 1 would just be using fats for your cooking. Okay? Coconut oil, lard, ghee, even butter. Okay? Pwede nyo pong isama yan. You can saute your food with it, your vegetables, or kung ano man yung kakainin mo, and then you can just mix it. Okay? So, kahit 1 tablespoon lang, you mix it in a plate, no? In a plate full, hindi mo actually siya manonotice. So, you can even, especially that those vegetables becomes moisturized din. So, hindi mo siya malalaman na meron talaga yung parang mamantika na texture. Okay? One way to do that also is just to drizzle olive oil in your salad, or you make omelets, okay? And with omelets, you can already include the egg yolk, okay? So you can include the egg yolk because egg yolk is actually one of the healthiest forms of fats, although we are not saying unlimited, okay? just having our essential fat, actually kailangan natin around 12 to 15 grams lang. So that is just 1.5 egg yolk. Okay, kung sa fat content lang talaga. But what we are looking into is increasing our good fat. So we can have omega-3, omega-9 coming from olive oil, and the good fats also coming from avocado and saturated fats even. Cholesterol is actually not bad. Okay? It's actually not bad as long as hindi ito napapares po sa ating mga carbohydrates o yung mga tinapay, the carbs that we avoid, no? The rice, the sweets, and all those. Okay? So egg yolks is okay. So maybe you can take 2 to 3 egg yolks in a day, i-mix mo sa pagkain mo. You can even put it in your soup. So sa soup po, you just break an egg there and then i-mix mo lang. Actually, pwede kang makakahigop ng sabaw na hindi mo siya makikita na meron talagang real egg. Okay? But for those naman who are a vegetarian or avoiding fats coming from plants, then you can just maximize the ones from butter. No, sorry, butter is animal based. So the ones from olive oil, from coconut oil, okay? And for those naman who also want to include that in their meals, for example, ayaw nilang fatty talaga yung meal nila, you can also try to do the bulletproof coffee, okay? So the bulletproof coffee is coffee, and then you just add MCT oil or coconut oil or butter or heavy cream, and that can already give you your needed fats for the day. Okay, so that is actually one of the ways that you can increase your fat intake without the fat consistency in your meal. Okay, so taking beta hydroxybutyrate ketones, those are actually not necessary if ever you still have fats to lose. Okay, but for those who are wanting the benefits of ketosis, tapos payat na sila, but they want to stay fueling on ketones, then maybe you can ask help from ketones. But actually, if you are not transitioning, nasa steady state ketosis ka na, taking in more extra ketones can actually be counterproductive kasi you will not burn the fat, you will actually decrease the need for your body to burn those fats and convert it into ketones kasi nga, nagsusupplement ka from external sources. So you will be fueling on ketones, but those will not be coming from your own body fats, but some of it will come from your supplement, which is the BHB ketones. Okay, so those are the things how you can increase your fat intake. You can put sa mga butter lover dyan, you can put butter in everything. And another good source of fats na wala na sigurong kumukontra pa dito sa buong mundo is actually the avocado and of course fish oil. So fatty fish, it's approved in Mediterranean diet, merong salmon, okay? But here in the Philippines, actually salmon is not that common, and if it is, it's quite pricey. So actually, yung mga fatty na isda, meron pa rin naman yung omega-3. It's just that hindi lang siya well-studied kasi nga hindi masyadong gumagawa ng research ang Pinoy. So I hope the ones, our friends in the food industry can also do some research into looking into the nutritional value ng mga local foods na nasa sa atin, especially the essential ones, especially omega-3. Kailangan po kasi yung omega-3 natin, meron tayong intake nito equal to omega-6. Okay? So 1:1 ratio. Yun talaga yung dapat na importante. And that is the reason why we no longer promote taking in omega-6 pa. Kasi yung omega-6 po, it is essential. Hindi natin yan nagagawa sa ating katawan. But it is highly available at sobrang dali pong mag-overconsume ng omega-6, which leads to inflammation. So that's why generally yung omega-6 halos ina-avoid pa nga natin. But of course, zero intake of omega-6 hindi rin maganda. So just a little and coming from good sources like even the pork fats, the chicken fats, meron pa rin naman yung omega-6. So that's the reason why we do not take it on unlimited level. Okay? Yung isang kilong baboy na puro taba lang, yun yung kakainin mo. Of course not. Okay? Bangus is considered fatty fish. Hindi ko actually nakita kung ano yung nutrition content ng bangus, but yung taba ng bangus, for sure, it is a fat. It's fats, no? Yun nga yung paborito natin yung belly ng bangus. But as to the specific grams, no, we are still going to look that up. And if you can help my clone, that would be best. Sabihan mo kami in our group, Low Carb Feasting and Fasting Community, para mas ma-educate tayong lahat. And we can actually promote that as well. Okay, so now, going into fiber, so yung fiber, eto rin yung somewhat na kinukulang, especially for those who are very busy, na kahit gusto man nilang kumain ng real green leafy vegetables, but wala silang time to do the marketing, wala silang time to prepare their foods, and usually yung pinakamadaling na bibili na lang na low carb food sa nearby karinderya, sa suki mong binibilhan, is actually just the meat, no? So, parang yung iba nade-deficient sa fiber. Now, fiber is actually hindi talaga considered as essential, okay? Kasi merong namang mga tao na nagta-thrive with pure carnivore, and that is devoid of fibers. But there are those naman, it's depende kasi sa ating microbiome, yung bakterya natin sa katawan. At iba-iba po yan. Depending on what food you eat, those kind of bacteria will also thrive, okay? And for those, for example, na sanay sa high carb diet noon with rice and all those, then your gut biome, yung mga bacteria nyo actually sa katawan, the good bacteria, are actually somewhat used to eating those. So you might experience some changes in your stool right after you get into low carb, especially yung mostly animal-based low carb. So, what to do? How to increase yung fiber sa pagkain kahit pa naka-low carb, kahit pa medyo animal-based masyado, kahit walang gulay, okay? So, usually, we actually have a psyllium husk sa aming bahay. So, we got that. It's actually mga padala yan ng mga tita namin galing sa labas. So, psyllium husk, yung whole, okay? Hindi yung powder. Okay? So, yung husk, kino-combine lang namin. We put it 1 tablespoon in 2 eggs, okay? Or kahit ano pang luto namin, kahit mag-adobo pa kami, nilalagyan lang namin yung sabaw para lang merong lang bulk of fiber. Kasi mas kailangan yun ng brother ko with his bowel movement. So, importante merong bulk yung kanyang fiber. So, you can add that. But if you do not have that, and of course, you can just get from natural sources, green leafy vegetables, and yung sa beans natin, no, the green beans is actually the string beans and green beans. Actually, konti lang yung overall carbohydrate, net carbs niya. Mataas yung fiber niya, and meron pa rin siyang protein. So, that's actually a good bulk din sa katawan mo. And even certain beans like red beans, in smaller amount, that can still help. So, one technique to make your gut bacteria biodiverse, kumbaga, yung marami, no, iba't ibang klase, is actually to eat in variety, and kung pwede, you rotate your food. So, hindi naman kailangan na iba-iba talaga yung pagkain nyo. So, at least, no, yung side dish ninyo, meron kayong niro-rotate. Just so, hindi makalimot or hindi makaligtaan yung mga certain gut bacteria natin that are also thriving in those certain food. Okay? So, it's good to rotate your food intake, especially kahit yung side dish na lang. Kasi yung main dish, usually, ano na naman, chicken, pork, beef, itlog, all of those, and seafoods nga, hindi pa nga parating napapaulit-ulit kasi mahirap siyang i-store. So usually, if you have seafoods, if you have fish, if you have sugpo, if you have crab, usually pagdating niyan, fresh pa lang, niluluto na agad. So it's good to rotate at least minimum the side dish. And if you have 3 to 4 types of yung main course ninyo, so okay na din yon. Actually, mahirap, hindi naman talaga mahirap, especially kapag nagpa-fasting kayo. Kasi with fasting, like say for example kami, kahit pa nagtitimad kami, actually parang umad lang din. Kasi yung 1 meal namin, yun lang yung major meal na pag i-prepare namin ng real food. And yung second meal namin, it's either tira-tira na lang ng first meal or something else na parang maiba din. Okay? But the heavy meal is actually just one. Isa lang, okay na lang. Okay? So, next would be for the fiber, no? Green leafy vegetables. You can have psyllium husk powder. Tapos, meron ding mga iba. Yung mga oat fiber. So, oat fiber is not actually oatmeal, okay? Kasi yung oatmeal, it's the whole thing. So, mataas yung carb content niyan. But if you just get the fiber in it, meron pong binibili na oat fiber. So, you can also supplement that. Pero, yung ano lang, yung idea lang between something to tell you about oatmeal and yung mga oat fiber and yung mga psyllium husk, kapag hindi mo siya tinimpla ng mabuti, like if you take it as is, okay, hindi talaga maganda yung lasa. So, it's really good to combine it with either neutral foods like sa itlog, para namin siyang ginagawang rice, or combine it with something savory. Pwede mo siyang gawing parang thickener sa iyong sauce, sa inyong sabaw, na hindi mo lang siyang malalasahan masyado. Because otherwise, yung lasa po niya parang feeds ng baboy. Sorry for that. Pero yun talaga yung tingin ko. Kasi before, we had nagkaroon kami ng, malit pa ako noon. We had some few pigs sa amin at yun yung pinapakain at parang pareho talaga yung amoy. So, yes, you can have that, but just know na hindi talaga ganon kagandahan yung kanyang lasa. So, you can just incorporate it or even add it to yung breakfast oats ninyo, yung overnight oats ninyo. That is still low carb. So, that is one way to increase your fiber intake in a day. And, of course, next would be the minerals. So, for the minerals po, we can actually fortify it by making sure that we have enough. So, I think we've discussed that many times, no? So, the salt, sodium chloride, especially sa mga taong takot na takot sa salt. So, you can just add at least a teaspoon, no? Enough na yun for your day. Okay? So, salt, nandito na naman. Actually, kumuha na ako ng ilang butil dito. So, any salt, kung ayaw mong maalat, so you can combine it with your food. You can even add salt kahit sa mga low-carb desserts ninyo. It can actually neutralize yung sobrang tamis na sometimes hindi maganda when you're using stevia, when you're using other sweeteners na hindi talaga ganon, cannot actually mimic the real thing, no? So, as much as we are trying to get over sugar addiction, but we understand, no, salt actually is the best fix for that. One of the best fix for salt is best sugar fix is actually salt. So kung hindi man kayo kung natatakot man kayo uminom ng maraming asin, so you can just limit it to a teaspoon in a day. Okay na yon. Okay? But when you take just enough salt, you have to make sure that you are taking enough or kung pwede nga, merong a little extra of your potassium. So, we cannot discuss potassium and sodium or asin na separate from each other because their metabolism is they are on homeostasis. Mine-maintain nila ang each other. Too much salt can lead to too low potassium sometimes, no? So, if you cannot make sure that you have enough potassium, pwede itong magkaroon pa rin ng imbalance. Okay? So, importante talaga that you take enough salt. So, salt, of course, we know, can be put in your food, but you can also put it in your water. So, that is why we have electrolyte water. So, tubig lang, lagyan mo lang ng pinch of salt, at least may sodium chloride ka na. And actually, that is the best way to do it because kapag iniinom po natin, distributed yung pag-inom natin ng electrolytes, less likely natin silang i-flash out na sasayang na. But if you take, for example, isang inuman mo lang yung salt need mo for that day, hindi mo actually maiisip na that can sustain you for the whole day because otherwise, during that span of time na nag-overload ka ng salt, is pwede mong iihi ang the rest ng extra na yon and you will be left with the next 23 hours na baka kulang ka pa rin ng asin. Okay? So that's why we advocate actually putting in those electrolytes in your food and in your drinks, no, para mas well distributed sila. And also, for the potassium naman, we have cream of tartar. Okay? So, cream of tartar, para siyang maasim, a little maasim. And right now, actually, gustong-gusto na namin yung lasa ng itlog, scrambled egg, na merong cream of tartar. Para siyang, kung mahilig kayo sa sour taste ha, so sa maasim. Yung lasa niya actually, yung para siyang scrambled egg na merong calamansi. So, yun yung lasa niya. And parang hahanapin mo na. It's really, really good. And other ways to increase that, kahit saan. So, kahit sa pagkain nyo, sa adobo ninyo, sa pinirito ninyo, or whatever, pwede lang kayong mag-sprinkle. Mag-sprinkle ng kung ano-ano mang cream of tartar and salt. And of course, may nagtatanong, sukang tuba. Okay, sukang tuba in a liter of water taken during fasting and feasting times. Kapag tuba, vinegar na talaga siya, okay? It's vinegar already, it's already 0 calories, okay? So, that can actually be taken during your fasting window as part of a clean fasting, okay? Because with clean fasting, yung uso lang ACV, apple cider vinegar. Kasi, yun lang naman, kasi very popular sila with making research about those. But, no, with the help of Sir Marco Reyes, no, our in-house registered chemical engineer, no, na part din ng ating low carb convention, one of our resource speakers, no, and he has actually a lot of experience and research about the benefits of coconut. So, it's really, really good. So, pwede po yan. And what's the best thing about sukang tuba or vinegar, cocoa sap vinegar? It's actually very high in those minerals also. So, potassium, pwede nyo ilagay yan. Yun na lang yung gamitin nyo. Kahit niluluto, hindi po sila masyadong nawawala because these minerals are somewhat heat stable. Stable naman sila kahit sa heat. So, you can still get the minerals from there. Okay? Other minerals that we have to think about would be magnesium and then to some degree calcium, and you can actually get that from nuts and seeds. So if you actually mag-sprinkle kayo, always kayong merong sesame seeds sa bahay. Actually meron ako pero always kong nakakalimutan. So I have the yung parang golden sesame seeds and meron ding black sesame seeds. So maganda din siya. Parang Japanese food yung kinakain mo. And it's very rich in proteins, very rich in calcium, and meron din siyang magnesium. And it's somewhat one of the healthiest foods, especially yung mga seeds, no? Although hindi naman kailangan ng maraming-marami. So that's part of our variation with our food. So you can sprinkle it para mas generally. And you don't need to stress on it. Hindi kailangan talaga 100% na ganito o ganito, kailangan meron ganito. So we are doing this episode para alam nyo kung ano yung mga pagkain that are considered as nutrient dense. Okay, and that you can already improve by incorporating them in your meals. Okay, so what else? Iron would be coming from seeds also, and cocoa, pwede rin, and of course liver. Liver is one of the most important supplement. Okay? So, hindi rin ako mahilig sa liver. Yun nga, I have friends na hindi rin mahilig sa liver. So, meron kaming idea noon na there's two kinds of people in the world. The one who love liver and the one who doesn't love liver. And usually, yung mga ayaw sa liver, ayaw rin ng ox tongue, ayaw rin ng pulang itlog. And I think it has something to do with the texture. Hindi ko talaga feel yan. But, for the sake of nutrition, for the sake of its health benefits, no, we are trying to incorporate that. So for example, yung sisig, no, if it's already mashed, konting na napino na talaga, so we can slowly incorporate it. Kapag magluluto, for example, ng adobo, pwedeng i-mash yung isang pirasong liver doon para at least kahit papano may makain namang liver, yung mga ayaw kumain ng liver. But if you love liver, just a piece of it, yung 1 matchbox size, o kung sa chicken naman, kahit isang chicken liver lang in a day, that is already good enough para ka nang nag-multivitamins yan. Okay? Mga multivitamins would be liver, whole eggs, okay? And certain nuts and seeds. Kasi sila yung mga parang compact na nutrients sa ating pagkain na available sa atin always. Okay? So, I'm so happy for you, Doc Brian, who love liver. So, hopefully, makakarating din ako sa point na yan na masasabi kong masarap ang liver. But as for the meantime, kakainin ko lang muna siya in amount, in a way of preparation na hindi ko siya masyadong nanonotice. So, yes, liver spread, yun lang actually yung nakakaya ko before. But try to just look, no, for the preservatives. Okay? Wow, adobong atay, sarap pakinggan. Okay? Liver spread still has the same liver. Just be conscious when you take in, especially, wag lang parate na naka-can, naka-plastic, naka-pack na. The best food are still the ones from natural sources, no, na ikaw talaga ang nagluluto, ikaw yung nagpo-produce. Okay? So, I'm so happy for all you guys, including Norma, na nanonood sa YouTube natin, who also love liver. So, sabi ni Sir George, they say ascorbate with zinc is a good protection versus COVID. If true, where can we get zinc from natural food? Zinc actually is very, very much available kapag kumakain kayo ng lean proteins, okay? High, if you prioritize proteins, ito yung idea when it comes to low carb. If you will actually strive for protein and potassium from natural sources, kapag you make sure that you already reach your calcium and your protein needs for the day, you are already getting all the nutrients that is needed. So, together, kapag na 100% mo yan, 100% na rin yung selenium, yung zinc, yung ascorbate, actually, because food doesn't have isolated vitamins and minerals. Usually, they go together. So, that's why makikita mo with proteins, with fats actually, and vitamins and minerals, ano yung mga common dito? You can actually have organ meats. You can have nuts. You can have eggs. Okay? To some extent, avocado. Very rich in magnesium, very rich in potassium, very rich in good fats, and meron din siyang degree of protein. So actually, if you only strive to reaching your 3,500 minimum, up to 4,500 pa nga yan ng potassium a day, and your necessary protein, say for example, 100 grams na lang of protein, you just get that from natural sources. It's a given. You will also get to take care of your B vitamins, your vitamin C even, vitamin A, D, K, and even zinc. So, yung zinc is hindi actually siya mahirap hindi siya mahirap makuha. Madali lang siya. So, but if you take in low-carb, nutritious, dense foods, okay? So, other multivitamins on extended fasting, you actually don't need so much of those, but if you want to take those, best to take multivitamins during your eating window, okay? So, para po mas ma-maximize natin. And now, it's already 7 o'clock. Lumipas na ang 1 hour. Ang bilis-bilis lang, no? So, you guys, if you wish to know more, tune in lang po sa ating page for more videos and more info. And of course, I invite everyone to join our 21-day LCF Masterclass because I will be very busy until the end of October. So baka yung next na mga live natin will already be catered. And of course, we will entertain most questions in the masterclass na lang natin. So we have Diabetes and Hypertension Masterclass are now open, and the Obesity and Weight Loss Masterclass will be open starting this Sunday. I hope to see you there, everybody. Maraming salamat po. Let's see kung meron tayong mga last thing. Addition of lemon extract or calamansi, no, in everything during your eating window is still a good source of vitamin C pa din. Although hindi natin siya nilalagay sa safe list kasi nga they can still be interpreted as citrus, so baka kumain kayo ng 3 kilong orange dyan, so hindi. But lemon alone and especially calamansi, those are considered low carb kasi hindi ka naman talaga makakakonsume ng sobra-sobra nun. So just a piece of lemon or just 2 or 3 wholes of a piece of calamansi can give you your vitamin C needs for the day. So maraming salamat po. And for those of you who want to be a part of our masterclass, here's the details. And good night, everybody. Have the best weekend ahead. I'll see you this Wednesday. Yung guest po natin would be Engineer Marco Reyes. And I'll see you then. Bye-bye. Thank you.
It's like 99% of the people in the world. We are brainwashed that sugar is okay. Sugar can be eaten as part of the dietary guidelines. However, we should think twice. Hi, my name is Dr. Josephine Grace Rojo, also known as your Diet Doctora. I have written books mainly focusing on health and wellness. So this coming June, we are going to conduct an LCF Masterclass, a low carb and fasting masterclass. But this time, it will be different because we will tackle 12 kinds of the most common lifestyle diseases na pwede po nating mai-improve using only natural remedies and of course, the knowledge on nutrition and incorporation of fasting. So ano po ang i-expect natin sa 21 days LCF Masterclass? So each disease ay magkakaroon po ng kanyang sariling private group sa Facebook. At kapag naka-enroll na at natapos ang registration process ng isang participant, siya po ay magiging member ng isang exclusive group and at the same time, exclusive community na ito. For the next 21 days, magkakaroon ng available na 20 to 25 minutes of video na merong learning at meron din itong kasabay na habit-forming activities and exercises so that pagkatapos po sa 21 days ng bawat sakit ay hindi lang po magiging equipped sa knowledge yung participant when it comes to disease prevention, kung paano posibleng pigilan, kung paano ito pwedeng maiwasan, and lastly, kung paano ito pwedeng mai-avoid. So, our first disease is actually on diabetes. So, yung diabetes po ay yung pagtaas ng blood sugar ng abnormal na level sa tao at ito po ay nagkakaroon ng maraming komplikasyon tulad ng sakit sa kidneys, sakit sa puso, pagtaas ng cholesterol. Diabetes is basically destroying all organs of the human body. And with this 21-day masterclass, we aim to provide you with the knowledge, yung kaalaman, at of course, the practice and also the confidence na pwede pong simulan ang ating lifestyle change ng safe and natural for us to attain good health. And remember, our ultimate goal ay hindi lang po basta optimum health, but also longevity. Ang longevity po ay maa-attain na kahit sa katandaan o advanced age, we still have the energy. Meron pa rin tayong stamina at lakas tulad ng kabataan. So, I hope to see you in our upcoming masterclass. And if you wish to know more, meron na pong details sa video na ito. And I hope that you will be a part of this community na hindi lang po matatapos in the coming 21 days, but it is going to be a long-term support group para po sa mga sakit na ito. See you!
Eh,
Ah,
ang bilis ka man, bro.